Hi, I'm Julie Patterson of JCT Quilting, and I want to help you turn your memories into quilted treasures. In this video, I'll walk you through how to piece a collage layout for a t-shirt quilt. I designed this t-shirt quilt for a client who just graduated. She was a cheerleader at her high school and the team mascot is a Spartan, so that's why this layout is called the Spartan. If you want to follow along or make this quilt yourself, the pattern layout and fabric requirements are available at the link in the description of this video. I like this layout because it's not a complicated collage design. In this layout, we're just piecing together a bunch of different sized rectangles, but we do need to be mindful of the order in which we are piecing those rectangles together. So keep watching it and I'll show you how to piece together the Spartan layout. All of the sashing in this quilt, including the outside borders, are 2.5 inches wide unfinished, or 2 inches finished. So to start, I will cut numerous 2.5 inch wide strips using my 2.5 inch ruler, and then later I'll come back and cut these strips to the exact sizes that I need to go with each block. Here's the outline of the Spartan quilt. I can see immediately that the section in the middle goes together, so I'm going to block that off and call it section number 1. That's the big centerpiece with the uniform, and then 2 shirts on the left of it and 2 shirts on the right. Then right above that is the next section that is calling out to me number 2, and then to the left will be number 3, and mirror image to the right will be number 4. Then I'm going to tackle the section below that, just one long rectangle of pieces, and then I'll go back to the top, call that section 6, and then I'll finish at the bottom with section 7. Next, I will assign a shirt to each of these squares, and then I will prepare the shirts to be used in the quilt. To prepare a shirt to be used in a quilt, I cut off the sleeves and I separate the front of the shirt from the back of the shirt. I want to rough cut this bigger than the final size will be in the quilt, and then I attach it to stabilizer using a t-shirt press or using an iron, and then I set it aside. I repeat this process to stabilize every shirt or item that will be used in the quilt. For more information about this process, please see my video, How to Prepare T-shirts for a Quilt. I'll put a link in the show notes. All of the shirts have now been stabilized, so it's time to cut them to size. I start by lining up my big square quilting ruler, and I cut across the top and along the right side of the shirt, and then I will turn the shirt and cut the bottom and the left side. I try to center the decal within the allotted space, but that isn't always possible based on where the logo is on the shirt and the size of the shirt that you might need for the quilt. Remember, we are creating quilted treasures of your memory fabric. We aren't looking for perfection. I mapped out my sections and now we're going to sew through them. So first we're going to start with the first section in the center. I like to work in the center and work my way out. So start in the center, and I'm going to start with the first block, and then I'm going to sew this piece for these 2 blocks, this piece for these 2 blocks, then attach them to the long vertical pieces, and then attach them to the number 1. Now we are ready to piece section 1. I start by cutting the sashing to the desired size, and then I lay out what the section will look like with the sashing and the shirts, and then I will sit down to sew these pieces together. When you're sewing sashing to your shirts, you want the shirt to be on the bottom so that the feed dogs will grab it and help move it through, and you want the sashing, the quilting cotton, to be on the top. If you're sewing 2 shirts together, it doesn't matter, but in the case where you have one piece is quilting cotton and one is shirt, you want to try and put the shirt on the bottom. It will go through a lot better with those feed dogs. I'm going to work my way through piecing all of section 1, and then I will come back and we can talk through section 2. Number 1 section is done, so now we're going to do number 2. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to take the sections, add the vertical pieces, and then bring in that 3rd section and sew them all together. Then I'm going to bring in this horizontal piece and attach 2 to number 1. piecing section 1 to section 2, I highly recommend pinning it together before sewing. I am not a pinner and I don't like using pins, but the pins really do help provide more accurate piecing, more accurate sewing, especially when sewing these large sections together. Even though we stabilize the shirt, stretching can still happen during the sewing process. Pinning the sections together helps ensure that they will maintain their desired size. Okay, the first 2 sections are done. I'm going to hold off on the vertical strips and I'm going to move to section 3, which has the 4 pieces and the 3 horizontal strips. So I'm going to take each piece, attach it to the horizontal piece, and then attach them all together just like with regular piecing, and then do the same thing for section 4. Take the piece, attach the horizontal sashing, and then attach them all together. When I attach them all together, I try and do them in groups. So I will do these 2 and then these 2, probably including that piece. And then I'll attach them all together. I find that if I go boom, 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 straight down the column, top to bottom or bottom to top, they tend to get a little wonky. If I do them in sections, it's not as bad. So same thing over here. I'll do these 2 and then these 2 and then piece those together. Done, I'll go ahead and take this vertical piece, attach it to 3, this vertical piece, attach it to 4, and then combine the 3 to that 1-2 block and the 4 to the 1-2 block using those sections. Okay, now that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are done, I'm going to come down and do number 5. This is just the 5 shirts with some vertical sashing. I'm actually going to attach the sashing on the left side of the shirt, but you could go right side. I just picked left. And so I'm going to take sashing to shirt, sashing to shirt, sashing to shirt, and do all of that. And then just like up here with 3 and 4, I'm going to do them in groups. I'm actually going to group these 2 and then these 2. So the 2 on the left, the 2 on the right, and then I'll combine them with the piece in the middle to finish section 5. And then I'll attach section 5 to this big horizontal piece. When ironing your shirts, I recommend using a protective overlay such as silicone or Teflon. I'll put a link in the description for what I'm using here. Some decals will be sensitive to the heat and some shirts are sensitive to the heat, so the overlay protects both the shirts and the iron from anything happening. I also recommend ironing to the sashing. The shirt is already thicker than the sashing, so you want that extra bulk from the seam to be under the sashing. Okay, now we're on section 6. I'm going to start with these 2 because they have a horizontal piece. Then, just like with section 5, I'm going to take the piece with the sashing on the left, piece with the sashing on the left, piece with sashing, piece with sashing. Then, as with section 5, I'm going to do the 2 on the left and the 2 on the right, and then combine them with the piece in the middle to finish section 6, and then attach it to this long horizontal piece, and then combine it to the block that I have going. When working with sashing, it's okay to combine 2 strips to make one longer strip. In fact, you'll have to do this with those long horizontal and long vertical pieces, as well as the borders. So it's okay to also do it with these smaller strips. In the long run, you won't notice this small seam, and anyone who does notice it will think it's just part of the design, just like the seams that will be present in those longer sashing strips. Okay, last section. As with 6, I'm going to first do this piece because it has a horizontal sashing between these 2 pieces. Then I'm going to take each piece, attach the vertical sashing on the left, and then I'm going to sew them in blocks. I'm going to do the 2 on the right with the 2 on the left with, of course, that sashing, and then combine them with that piece in the middle. And then I'll take section 7, attach that horizontal sashing, and then attach it to the rest of the piece. All my sections are done. So now I'm going to do the horizontal at the top and the horizontal at the bottom. And then I'll come back and do the vertical on the outside. Just like we did when we sewed sections together, I recommend cutting your sashing to the desired size and then pinning it before sewing. This will help keep the desired size and maintain consistency when attaching the borders. It removes some of the wonkiness and unevenness that can sometimes happen. Now every piece is done. So the quilt top is done. Way to go. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to click on the link in the video description to get the quilt layout and fabric requirements. And then please tag JCT Quilting when you show videos and pictures of your Spartan quilt. I can't wait to see what you make.